All right, here we go, back again. Another day, I'm a little more alive. I haven't looked at my eye, but it feels really weird up there. A stupid ember that get. Can you imagine? I mean, what are the chances a glowing ember sticks to the outside of your eyelid and rolls up into your eye? Anyway, I screwed up yesterday. I didn't put that sound recording in the video. What a dumbass. I hate it when I do that, but it's not hard to miss for me because as I'm ripping along, sitting here blasting out 6 or 7 emails or whatever I do, and if somebody has an attachment right at the beginning of the video, by the time I get to the end, my brain starts kicking forward what I got to get going and on and what I got to do, and that was about 5 emails and experiences ago, which each email makes your brain spin in a different direction, it seems. So anyways, here's my babble. Let's listen to this right now, all right? So I don't forget to put it in. So I'm going to play it to myself on my phone, and I'll put it into the video same time. Huh. Well, that's a little spooky. Sounds something you want to hear outside your tent or your camper, right? Almost sounds like some kind of demonic thing from a horror movie, doesn't it? I haven't heard anything like that myself. Not craving it either. Not craving that one. There you go. Shared. Creepy. Creepy, creepy. All right. Here we go. What do we got? This is titled A Club Member from Oregon. Greetings, brother. This is from a year ago. Greetings, brother. Many blessings to you and yours. First, I love the stories that you share. But I love your rants and ramblings as much, if not more. Excuse me. Yes, we do have each other's backs. It's called being a good person, right? Right. Born and raised in Oregon. 44 now. And for many years, I've been going into the woods alone. Most of my frightening and dangerous encounters have been from bipeds, but not the hairy kind. Oregon has some very strange people, lol. I've seen some of them on TV. My membership to the club actually happened in 2015 while driving in the valley. It was towards the darker end of dusk. I was driving my friend Bart's car. He was riding passenger, and another friend was in the back seat. And as you pass through the tiny town of Marion, headed north on Marion Road, there is a 25-mile-an-hour turn just outside of town. And there are trees making it a blind corner. Familiar with it, I was coming to a bit over the speed limit, which might explain why we came up so close on him. The road goes right, so I was on the inner lane, and he was crouched down in the outer lane. Apparently, he decided that his best route was across my lane because he darted right in front of my car. He moved faster than anything else I've ever seen. And even though I stared at him, I couldn't make out a single detail beyond long, super dark hair. Like, I literally thought to myself that was the darkest thing I've ever saw. It took a second to register the experience. But I was hyper aware, like when you get in an accident and things go slow. I didn't see hands or a face. I saw an animal lunge from a squat, using his arms only at first to push his upper body up, and his legs to move his mass. But again, I didn't see his face or hands. I should have. But it's like that part was blurred from my memory. Like it was suggested that I saw only a dark black. I really feel like that was suggested in my mind, as if he told me that these weren't the droids I was looking for. I knew what I saw, but I was in shock. So in my head, I asked myself if what happened just actually happened. We were all silent for a couple of seconds, and honestly, I don't recall if I asked Bart or if he asked me, quote, "Did you see that?" end quote. He did, and was also trying to come to terms. Our friend in the back seat missed it. My other experience happened up at Blue River Lake, about 45 miles east of Eugene. Been camping there since my dad first took me as a kid. It was our spot. Over the years, I've had some interesting experiences. Cougar, bear. I'm pretty sure I heard a pack of wolves running by my camp once. In late August 2019, I was up there at this one great spot on a cliff overlooking part of the lake. The mountain continues up behind it, with a gravel road between the camp and the mountain. Now, I had a few beers and was enjoying a nice little campfire in the dark of the night when I heard some large-sounding birds up the mountain, probably about 50 yards away. As I've mentioned, I've been going into the woods my whole life, and I have not heard birds at night. These were not owls. They sounded like crow. There were 3 or 4 of them, either in the trees or on the steep mountain just behind the trees. I pointed my flashlight to see these critters, right where the sounds were coming from, and though I couldn't make hide nor hair, it must have been on them, excuse me, because they got agitated, and the crowing turned to monkey sounds. I took my light off them because it was very clear they were getting angry at me. I pulled out my handgun, showed it to them in the light, because I knew that these were not birds. I told them to leave me alone. I knew what they were, even though I didn't want to think about it. I was camping alone, but I was shouting distance from other campers because sound travels over water well. So I stayed 2 more days. I heard them a few times over those days. If I hadn't been drinking that night, I would have packed up and left immediately. I don't want to encounter them, but they are not going to scare me out of the wilderness. We're all going to die, and I intend to live until then. If they're going to take me down, then you'll know where I was, because there will be a pile of brass. I'm a God-fearing man, so I pray. Brother, you and yours and all the club members are in my prayers. I'm a free man. My name is Trevor Ballard. I do not care about the judgment of man. They can say what they want. Cheers. Right on, Trevor. Proud to have you on board in the same club I'm in, man. You're a good man. Appreciate you sending that in. There you go. Another member. More patterns. Who's next? Juan De Luca screams and knocks last night with recorded audio. Please let me remember to attach this to the video. Hey, Steve. My girlfriend Sarah, dog Jasper, and myself were taking advantage of the Juan De Luca trail being closed and figured we could do some secluded camping. We parked the car on a hidden logging road and bushwhacked our way down to the trail to camp for 2 nights on April 7th near Bear Beach. At 3 a.m. on the second night, I woke up to relieve myself, and after returning to the tent, I laid awake for about 20 minutes before hearing 2 very loud, deep screams/roars echo down from up the creek. I thought maybe it was a big cat, but this sounded much deeper, more like a howler monkey, or a singer in a metal band, but much louder, as it reverberated through the trees. Sarah slept through it, but Jasper woke up and stared nervously in that general direction, north. It freaked me out, but at the same time, I figured there was no sense in jumping to any conclusions. Animals make weird sounds. We went out again about 10 kilometers south of this location for another night on April 13th. This time I brought my audio recorder. Around 1 a.m., it sounds like maybe an animal is flipping rocks near the mouth of the creek looking for food, although it struck me as odd how consistent the sound was. It then escalates to what sounds like loud rock throwing, as you can hear rocks splashing and hitting the bottom of the creek bed. as well as logs strewn across the creek. Maybe even some wood on wood. It was loud. We were completely alone on the beach, and it was pitch black, as the moon hadn't come out yet. Forgive me if this is just common practice from some known animal. However, I had to share my findings with you in case maybe there's something strange going on here. Thanks for listening, and keep up the great work with the channel. Kindest regards, Eric Dissereau. Thanks, Eric. What do we got? All right. Let's listen up.
Does it make a difference?
What's that?
Remember earlier you were trying to make trying to tell me that this don't make a difference for you?
There you go. That definitely wasn't no bear and wasn't no cat. And I believe you know what it is. Or was. And I think you already knew before you emailed us. Welcome to the club, man. Welcome to the club. All right, here we go. The Arizona 4. A note from Rob Zitalis email. I don't think we've heard from you guys in a bit. Greetings, Steve. So you're going to the southern U.S. Awesome. But hey, don't worry if you can't make it to Arizona this time. It's not like you said you wanted to go check out that Arizona 4 group. No, wait. You actually said that a few times. Just busting your balls, sir. I'm replying to your March 21st, 24. In case you don't get to this before I retire. Post from Randy Black. Okay, man, on that note, once I get down, like once I leave, and I don't ever map out a full. I'm very unorganized. Sarah's organized to the second. Me, like, it's funny. We'll buy a ticket finally to go to the other side of the planet, and then she's like, "Where are we gonna stay? What are we gonna do? What are we do?" And I'm like, "Who cares? Let's just go. We'll figure it out." That's me when I travel. So especially when I'm solo. All I know is I'm gonna go to Alabama, hook up with friends, shoot a turkey or two, and then from there, then I'm going to keep going. So I will more than likely end up with you guys. Just not sure when yet, what my route of attack is going to be, but I'm doing the full route, okay? In case I forget to address that by the end of this email. It was about telepathically calling them. My guess is Randy must have been tagged somewhere in Outdoor Travels. Of course, this is my thoughts / opinion. There are a few things we, the Arizona 4, mutually agree on is that what one knows, they all know. They know one's heart or one's intentions, meaning if you're a good person or bad. Do you, or would you, kill for no reason? Now, back to my thoughts and experiences. If you call out either verbally in your head, you will be heard. Do one have farther range than the other? No frickin' idea. I believe each of us are like a radio station. We transmit at different frequencies. Guaranteed, I believe. Just like there are colors in heaven that are not on this earth, who knows how this mind-speak telepathy actually works? All I can say is it does. This is my simple way to accept or process this mystery. Thus, I move on to trying to figure out other stuff like how they make their eyes shine, or can they freeze someone right in their tracks, or what exactly is happening when they zap someone? Back to Randy's question about them hearing him and the evil the one that replied spoke of. We have been told that if you speak of their names, that person, not that Bigfoot, Sabi, or Sasquatch, but person, will hear them. Distance did not seem to matter. Example of this is we were talking about some activity that happened a long way from where we were at. Someone asked, what was the name of that mean son of a bitch and so-and-so's ranch? Chuck was about to say this guy's name, and he and Kevin both got mind speak really loud saying, don't say his name. They say he would hear this, that they did not want this guy coming into their area. This one was mean, old, and hated humans. Another example, which I believe was in a post long ago from me, but here it is again. Kevin and I were camped out and just having a good time enjoying the company we know was listening to us. Kevin told a joke and made a comment which continued our humorous evening. As I was about to finish my humorous comment, I had a thought about one time we were camping in this very spot. Okay, bear with me. I have veered off to tell this for the rest to make sense. Both Kevin and I got the feeling that all was not well there anymore. Then Kevin got the message to go in the camper. It was not safe. Kevin has really good mind speak and mine as well. Sometimes like the old dial-up computers he used to have. Anyway, on the second not safe go in camper, we heeded the warning / advice. After a bit, we went back out. Sitting in the dark, we both felt like we should not be outside. We both felt there was someone in the front of the camper. A very big and powerful someone that was not happy with us. After a minute or two, Kevin got the go back in, not safe. Okay, you forgot the quotes. So after a few minutes or two, Kevin got the go back in, not safe. And tone, he said, was not friendly, but rather in a pissed off tone. I did not get the not safe again. But I knew there was one very, very large and powerful being in the front of my camper. You mean in the camper or in front of the camper? In the front of my camper. Of course, it was pitch black, so we saw nothing. I could tell whoever that was not happy with us. I also got the feeling he did not want to be there, but had to. A trace or resentment, maybe. Kevin got similar feelings, so we called it a night. Okay, the squirrel is gone. Back to what the F just happened to me. I was about to finish my humorous comment to Kevin and was going to continue with a question about that night. I was about to ask Kevin out loud in hopes it would trigger an answer from one of the forest friends visiting us. What I was going to ask was if he thought the danger that night was a dog man or some evil entity. Well, I was just finishing my last comical comment and was about to fire that question out when I was shut down. I mean, in mid-sentence, my brain shut down. What I recall was that it felt like a hand entered me from the back of the neck and the base of my hard skull, turned a 45-degree angle, and exited basically through my forehead. I mean, everything was turned off instantly. No sight, no sound, no feeling. It was only blackness. Then I felt my brain rebooting back up. I had the thought that this is what a computer must feel like, excuse me, when it turns on. Kevin said I stopped talking and was frozen for about 8 seconds or so. Maybe a second or two longer, I forget. My hearing came back first, because I heard Kevin asking me if I was all right a few times. My sight slowly came back, as well as my ability to move/speak. The thought in my head was, quote, shut up, don't talk about that, end quote. There was no dial-up in mind speak. It was loud and clear. I can say the speed that hand seemed to blow through my head was very fast. I'm guessing here, but it was like whoever did it was a distance away from me and realized my sentence waiting in my RAM to be spoke? And realized my sentence waiting in my RAM to be spoke. I think the forest friend was at speed when they got to me and might have hit me harder than they were intending, or they were just pissed off and let me have it. Lesson learned. I no longer speak about and evil or dark beings. I just read it the way it's typed, you guys. I no longer speak about and evil or dark beings, at least not at night. That was effing wild. I realized I had no power to stop that from happening. None whatsoever. Hold on a minute, some cat screaming at me. That was effing wild. I realized I had no power to stop that from happening. None whatsoever. So Randy, you calling them probably pissed at least one of them off. Maybe for 2 reasons. Commanding them to do something and or calling them into that has danger for their weaker or younger ones. I take it, aka assume, you're in a city or a populated area. I think they stay away from areas like this for a few reasons as well. The more humans in an area, the more dark forces will be attracted to that area. The one that replied might have been watched for that area. Keep track of bad guys and to keep their young/less experienced ones out of the dangerous areas. If so, that one answering would be one of their badasses. I think, this is just my thought, the ones that are soldiers or guards don't have the humor tolerance others of the clan or family have. I would guess that if this was true, he, another assumption, did not want any one of his clan being called into a dangerous area. Of course, it's just my crazy 2 cents on your reading that USA-bound Steve read. Take it or leave it your call. Well, gotta let the dog up before bed. Gosh, the weather here is really nice. Hint, hint. Take care, Rob. There you go. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it, man. Okay. Few things. On me traveling, one thing that I just don't do, and I don't know why, I don't tell people exact dates or days or routes when I don't know them. Because once I say something, I'm doing it. And I don't have that. I don't know how long I'll be in Alabama yet. And I don't know which direction would be the right move to make. So I'm going to go what? Alabama. Then what am I going to do? I'm going to go to Texas. Then Arizona. Or Alabama, Arizona, Texas. Who knows? But I'll figure it out. All right. What else? Dangerous zones. What's dangerous? What happens to them? You know what I mean? What can happen to these beings if they get to what's dangerous to them? Directly. You know what I mean? What's dangerous to them? There's a big question. There's all sorts of goofy shit going on, right? Goofy shit going on that people, the majority of everybody is going to have a real tough time wrapping their bean around it. But anyway. Do I want to be mind spoke to? Not if it's going to be out of my control and become a habit for somebody. Nope. I like to be left alone. Excuse me, but I do like to spend most of my life out in the real world. but I like to enjoy it. Have my time alone, blank my brain out, concentrate on a river or on a patch of timber and making my way through there smoothly, trying to find a great big huge old buck or calling in an elk or whatever. I don't need to have a feeling of some immense, powerful something hovering and breathing down the back of my neck and entering my head unwelcome anytime it feels like it. Doesn't sound appealing to me at all. If I could possibly have a conversation and be in control of when and how often, then I'd be open to it. But to all of a sudden kick that shit open and you have no control and it violates your privacy anytime it feels like, and whatever the hell it is, too, right? Whatever the hell this is that is allegedly communicating with various people in their mind without even seeing them or knowing who the hell is this, what is this, you know what I mean? So many questions, right? So many frickin' questions, so many mysteries. Excuse me. Now, this is titled Bigfoot Story, October 2019. Steve, I just started watching your videos recently and I appreciate... Hold on, one more quick question too. Or what my brain said as a reason reading that last email. Danger here, go inside. See, that doesn't make sense to me. You know how fragile a camper is? And as well, if you know what police officers refer to their cars as coffins, caskets, when it comes to shootouts. The worst thing you can do, apparently, when being assaulted is being inside your vehicle. But it's just hard for me to picture for 1 second being safe anywhere if something is powerful enough to crumple up a camper like a Coke can. Being told to go in the camper, it's not safe outside. What's the camper going to do? Is there some spiritual protection bubble around a camper? I don't think so. You know what I mean? I could shoot an arrow through a camper, right through it. Just a stupid arrow. You know what I mean? There's nothing protective about a camper. What is a camper going to do to protect a human being from whatever it is? You know what I mean? It's just so many odd things when you try to think somewhat rationally, whereas maybe we're not even built to think properly. I don't know. See, it's early in the morning. I have a tough time with my brain meshing up with my lips, right? Get in the camper. It's not safe out here. Even a grizzly bear. A grizzly bear rips holes through the sides of cabins. Nothing stopping him. A grizzly bear. A grizzly bear would enter a camper like we would enter a frickin' bubble wrap. It's nothing, you know? Anyway, I'm rambling. It's just the questions my brain comes up with when I hear from the people, right? Bigfoot Story, October 2019. Steve, I started watching your videos recently and I appreciate what you're doing. It's obvious you're genuine and want to help people who have encountered these creatures, as well as telling some pretty kick-ass hunting stories if you have done as a guide and hunter. I like your take on these things and I share your view on them. Appreciate the kind words, man. Anyway, I had an encounter last October 2019 during muzzle loading season in Arkansas. I sent this story to your pro guide email and realized that it was the wrong email, so I'm resending here, revised a little. I hunt in central Arkansas in the Ozark foothills. If I gave an exact location, everyone would know the area I'm talking about, so I will keep it vague for now. In Arkansas, most hunters hunt either on private land or as a member of a leased land hunting club. There is some public land hunting available, but the better hunting is on leases or private land. Oh, I just don't envy that, man. I've been on private land in the States. I've seen so much of it. I just don't envy being the poor, the unfortunate people that there's just so much land is private. You know, out here in British Columbia, you just go forever. Forever. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, I've been in several different deer leases all over Arkansas and have hunted most of the state at one time or another for deer. think I've hunted turkey in Arkansas. I think I have. I've been in this lease about 5 years, and I've hunted the one particular area I started hunting in when I joined the lease. We have over 4,200 acres with 36 members, so I don't have a lot of people hunting around me, and it's fairly remote for Arkansas. The terrain is all rock, steep grades, and mostly pine timber plantations. The long shooting is on recent clear cuts, gas pipelines, or open logging roads. Other than that, it is 100-yard shooting or less. There's a lot of game in this area. Large black bears, bobcats, mountain lions, and of course deer, and a good population of small game as well. There tends to be a lot of brush in old cutovers or select cut areas, and it is difficult to get through on foot due to the number of loose rocks under the brush. Excuse me. So, access is mainly old and current logging roads, and we stand hunt pretty much exclusively. To still hunt would be an exercise in frustration because of the terrain, and the wind constantly swirls around, telegraphing your scent to everything in range. I like to get down to the timber and hunt from lock-on stands that are higher than normal to stay above most of the swirling air currents, and in areas where I can see at least 100 yards or so in key areas like game trail heads, creek bottoms, and choke points. I am 56. I was 55 at the time of my encounter, and I will say I've been a fan of Bigfoot since I was a kid and watched the Boggy Creek monster movie. I've read about everything I can get my hands on about Bigfoot, but prior to this experience, I was starting to have my doubts if these things are real. All my friends who are much better hunters than I am swear that nothing could escape game camps, or somebody would shoot one and drag up a body. I had tended to agree until I ran into one. I've hunted and fished all my life and spent a few years in the Army as a tank officer and later as a scout platoon leader. But I got out before all the Iraq stuff started. I've hunted in Kansas, Colorado, Texas, and Arkansas for deer, elk, nilgai, Nilgai, don't know what it is, ducks, geese, etc. I've had face-to-face encounters with large black bears in the woods, and one really tense encounter with a mountain lion at night outside my house. I had a gun with the bears and the big cat, but it might as well have been a pickle for all the good it did. I didn't want to have to use it, and came close, but luckily the bears and the cat went the other way. Not to say that does not scare you straight, but in both cases I still felt that I could handle myself if I needed to do business with those critters because I had a gun and I know how to use it. I get what you're saying about a sixth sense because that's the only thing that can explain what happened to me that night. I was hunting the last day of muzzleloading, last October. It was about dark, which I think was around 7 p.m. because it was still daylight savings time. I was hunting in my lock-on stand over a recent select cut, which was to my front for about 80 yards that ran down to a tree line in a creek bed. Beyond that is a steep ridge covered in pine. On my left, about 80 yards away, was mainly pines and the select cut edge leading down to the creek bed and back up again. I was about 40 feet up an old red oak in the woodline against the timbered ridge on the north side of the select cut. I could only see about 7 yards to my right front due to the curve of the ridge, and it was mainly overgrown select cut with some solitary hardwood standing. An old overgrown logging road running roughly east to west in front of me. I had a south wind in my face at this point. The deer were moving right at dark that night, which was not unusual, but what was not normal is they were all coming by me at a trot and sticking inside the woodline. I had a good light so I could see clear. Normally, the deer would filter out into the select cut and feed and meander around until full dark. But tonight, they were moving out with a purpose. I counted 4 small bucks go by and was looking for a big 8-point that was in there. And then I saw a buck with his antler profile skirting inside the wood line at 85 yards, heading downhill almost in a trot. I shot him with my Savage ML10 muzzleloader, which has a scope on it, and heart shot him. Lucky for me. He tumbled down to the bottom of a fairly steep ravine. I gave him a minute marking his location, and reloaded my rifle. I took a few minutes to climb down and collect my gear. I had a flashlight, but it was almost out of battery. It's getting darker by the minute, so I set out to find my buck. I had a tinge in the back of my neck that something was off or not right, but I ignored it. Big mistake. Never ignore yourself, ever. I found the buck dead where I thought he was. I always backtrailed to check the blood trail, even though I didn't need to. As is usual, there was very little blood, and it was almost impossible to see in pine nettles. Anyway, the buck was much smaller than the big 8-point I was after, but he was a 2-year-old 8-point. Not a bad deer, just not what I would normally shoot. I was glad he was small because it took me about 45 minutes to manhandle him up to the old logging road out of the ravine he fell into. 45 minutes, that's a cakewalk. I usually got to do 3 hours to get out myself with a deer on my back. Cut up by briars and sharp rocks, I took a breather, then hooked him onto my climbing harness and started to drag him out on the old logging road. I don't have a four-wheeler, which would have been helpful at this point, but I'm 6'4" and weigh about 300 pounds, so dragging a deer out is not a huge task. Even so, it took another 30-40 minutes to drag him to the logging road my truck was on. I think he weighed in about 140 pounds or so. I got to the logging road I drove in on, and my truck was parked at the top of the hill, about 350 yards or so uphill. I took a breather, sweating like a mule and sucking in oxygen, cussing myself for getting fat. I started stripping my gear off. The orange hunting vest I always wear, and my heavy climbing harness, binoculars, and all the stuff you carry hunting. I laid my rifle on my vest and was about to start up to my truck. It was about 60 degrees, but the temperature was dropping fast. I heard a solid whack on a tree. It got my attention immediately because it was loud and fairly close. I had not associated immediately with Bigfoot beating on trees. My mind was searching for an explanation. It was possibly a falling tree or someone working on their deer stand, which I had not heard before. Definitely not a woodpecker or a night bird call, nothing like that. Then I heard it again, sounding closer, like maybe within 250 yards or so down the trail I'd just come up. And that is when my sixth sense kicked in, and I realized this was something else. It was full dark, about 8:30 at night. No one was anywhere near me in the woods. I felt the hair on my neck and arms raise up, and I had a really bad feeling like something was about to go down. Then I heard 3 solid whacks of either rocks on rocks or a club against a tree, but it was aggressive sounding, like something was pissed. I picked up my rifle and checked to make sure the shotgun primer was still in place. I had to go toward the sound, up the hill to reach my truck. It sounded like whatever it was had followed the blood trail of the deer and was on the road I had drugged the deer up, which went around the curve of the ridge I was on. I was on top of the ridge on the logging road, which ran straight up to the top of the hill. So at any point, the old logging road paralleled the road I was on at anywhere from 50 to 150 yards away. I started walking to my truck. Even though I was scared, I choked it down and made myself move. I had my rifle aimed in the woods at my left and determined I was going to shoot anything that came out of the big thicket running up the side of the ridge full of tangled brush and scrub oaks. It was dead quiet when I heard another tree whack only about 50 yards away down the hill. Then dead quiet. I couldn't see anything and my flashlight was long dead. I had enough light to look up and see the top of the tree's skyline, but that was about it. It became dead quiet. And I strained, but did not hear a sound or smell anything. Eerie quiet. I thought I might be range of my truck remote because I was near the crest of the hill, and the black, dark, thick brush on the sides of the road was unnerving. I hit my truck remote, and the lights kicked on, and all hell broke loose. Something huge in damn near handshaking range, broke cover down the hill, blowing through the thicket and scrub oaks like they weren't there, breaking down branches, rolling rocks. I could hear heavy footfalls moving fast. I knew for sure it wasn't a deer, because with deer you hear their hoofs clicking on the stones, and with big bears they'll always growl or woof at you as they run. This thing made no sound other than breaking down trees and rolling rocks. I wanted to run, but my legs were rubber. I had completely forgotten about the rifle in my hand, and still don't know why I didn't fire off a round. It's like I was frozen. It got creepy silent again, and I couldn't hear anything. At all, nothing. So I shook the shit out of my pants and started to my truck, convinced any second something was going to tear me apart. Made it to my truck. As I opened the door, I heard 3 solid whacks, about 30 yards or so down the hill, so close I could feel the vibrations. I fired my muzzleloader at the sound, then instantly regretted it because now I was unloaded. I jumped to my truck, slammed the door, pulled my Smith & Wesson 44 out of the console, made sure it was loaded. I cranked my truck and drove down to the buck. I was really hard thinking about just leaving all my gear and the deer there, but I got out this time with a working flashlight and left my truck running. It was dead quiet again. I put all my gear in the truck bed and was about to load the deer when I had a thought. I yelled, "If you want this damn deer, come and get it." I stood there a minute and nothing happened, so I loaded it up. When I got finished, I scanned around my flashlight. I was on a timber pad where they collect the logs they cut. It was about 50 yards wide, and at the edge was a drop-off down the hill with stunted trees on the edge. I saw a big cedar was moving. I could see it skylined. It was beyond my flashlight beam. Something was moving it because there was no wind. I thought I heard a deep growl like a dog, but much deeper. But it was not loud. It was low and deep. I jumped in the truck and headed out. There is no hauling ass in there because the timber companies hump the logging roads to keep erosion down. I moved out with a purpose, though. I kept waiting for something to hit my truck or a big rock landing on it, but nothing. The gate was over a mile away, and when I made it there, I had to think about it. When I got out to unlock the gate with my head on a swivel, but it was all quiet. Yeah, no doubt. I hadn't feel any effects from this until I was about halfway home, and then I got the shakes and had to pull over and calm down. It was like you just survived a serious car accident. I hunted the area during gun season a few weeks later. I was on high alert, but I never had a moment of feeling off like I did that night. I even stayed on the stand until dark a few times, and nothing happened. It was all quiet. I got enough courage one afternoon to go check out the area all the tree banging came from, to see if I could find tracks, damaged trees, or any kind of sign. As hard as those whacks were on the trees, I thought they would have to leave some damage, but I could find nothing at all. I did find bear tracks, deer tracks, coyote, cat tracks, but nothing big enough to be the big fellow. I never saw this thing other than possibly a black on black outline that night that was skylined by the cedar, but I'm not sure about that. I even checked where something ran through the brush, and I did find broken branches and plowed over small trees. This did not strike fear in me like most people seem to have. It was more of a curiosity. It did not occur to me that night, but later, as I thought about it, there had to be more than one, and maybe they were signaling each other. Maybe they were driving the deer. That is sure what it seemed like as I thought about it, just like the deer drives we do sometimes. This thing could have been beating trees much earlier, but I did not hear it because I was breathing so hard and the blood was pounding in my ears. I've always been cautious in the woods, and I know there's more there than meets the eye. This is a creature of the forest. And while it is scary as hell, it is not keeping me out of the woods I love. If I actually see one, it may change things. I think I spooked one by the road that was waiting on me by my truck, but I don't think it meant to harm me other than making me shit my pants. If it wanted to kill me, I would still be a missing person. I don't question that. It would easily kill any man, but since it didn't, I'm going to go by the premise, when I sense them, I will leave, or when they let me know they are around, it is peace out for me. I hope this helps someone. My name is Andy Herzfeld. Feel free to use my name. Some people believe me, some don't. I believe you, Andy. There's no paragraphs in that, so I was a little awkward. Sorry if I'm not smooth today, you guys. That's the shitty frickin' thing about it, is when something can outclass you so easily and be right beside you without you knowing it. That is creepier than hell, isn't it? That is so creepy. I remember one time when I was a kid, and I was probably about 16, and I was coming down that same, well, not that same road, it's another road. Same area where I had my experience, but I was on a different old road, kind of growing in a little bit. And it was right at last gloomy light, and I'm walking along the road, and all of a sudden, dead quiet, excuse me, and a human voice right beside me. You see anything? Just like that. I'm like, oh my God. And here's this guy in camouflage with his bow crouched down under this overhang of willow on the side of the road. I'm like, you bastard. Right beside me. I'll never forget that. But I couldn't imagine. I don't need something right beside me like that in the dark. Anyway, enough of me babbling. Excuse me. More people to be heard. It's funny how many people, side note, it's funny how many people still drag the whole animal out. So many people drag the whole deer or whatever. I can't remember the last time I gutted out a deer. I just cut all the meat off right there. Cut all the good parts off, strap them on my backpack, and off you go. Done deal. Way lighter. And you don't have to go back to the woods to chuck the unedible parts back in the woods either, right? And it's clean. Anyway. 2018 Illinois encounter. It's a Taos email. Hey, Steve, I'm glad that I finally am writing to you and sharing my experience. It hasn't been easy telling this to people, especially the ones that haven't witnessed these things firsthand. And to be honest, I stopped telling people altogether because they thought I was either a bullshit or a nutcase. I'll first start out by introducing myself. My name is Alex. I'm currently 20 years old, and I'm from Southern Illinois, near Paducah, Kentucky. I've been hunting all my life. Whitetails. There's some big boys down there. I enjoy fishing and really anything outdoors. In 2018, my older brother and I were hunting on our property near Shawnee National Forest during the November shotgun season. We usually head out of the house around 4:35 a.m. and just walk to our stand. There's a small pond in our property, and it's probably about 45 yards in diameter. Now we are up in our stand. It's about 5:15 a.m. Sun still hasn't come up, and all of a sudden we both heard this incredibly loud howl. The sound was just haunting. It's like nothing I've ever heard before. We gave each other that look of, what the hell was that? I wasn't really scared, but I was definitely on edge. Something just didn't feel right. It's almost like something was telling me to be alert, that there's a bigger and badder predator out there than you, that your gun in hand won't do shit. I kind of just brushed it off after that. I tried not to overreact and just focused on filling our freezer. By this time, first light was hitting, and I started to feel a little bit more comfortable because now I can actually begin to see what's in front of me. But again, that feeling of uncertainty came back. No birds were chirping, no squirrels hopping down on the forest floor, absolutely nothing. It was just eerie, man. I could physically feel that something wasn't right. It was like a voice that doesn't use words. Lo and behold, we hear this massive branch snap in the woods. To help you visualize it, we were in our stand, which is in a tiny little patch of woods. Behind us is the pond, and directly in front of us is a small, almost strip field that gets bush hogged every 4 years. And just beyond that is where the real woods begins. Now, this branch that we heard got snapped came from the woods in front of us, separated by that thin field. The field was bush hogged last year, so the brush wasn't thick and tall. We could see right at the edge where the woods begins, and see maybe 30 yards into it. Man, I tell you, this is the loudest branch I've ever heard get snapped. It was no deer, I can tell you that. This branch had some damn meat to it. It sounded kind of like a log splinter, actually, finally cracking. That stubborn piece of wood full of knots. My brother and I looked at each other again. This time it was a look of dread. We remember what we heard about an hour and a half before. Man, I tell you, dread sucks. It's almost like I knew exactly what it was, but I had no clue. Every step I heard was just crushing the brush beneath its feet. That thing had some damned mass to it. At this point, I take the safety off my shotgun and I tell myself that I'm going to blast whatever this thing is. I'm just waiting for me to see what it actually is. My heart is just thumping. And my eyes are like radars, just scanning everywhere for this thing. That thing walking through the woods lasted for about 30 seconds and then it stopped. I'm asking my brother, what do you think that is? Could it be a hog that escaped from Galloway's neighboring pig farm? I don't remember what my brother said after that. That ain't no goddamn pig. Immediately after he responded, I saw this thing. Oh, here we go. It was It was effing huge, man. It walked out into the clearing and just booked it, heading towards the train tracks at one end of the property. That thing moved so damn fast, and it was just walking. I think those strides are about 6 feet, maybe more. My brother and I were just frozen. I literally could not take my hands off this thing and shoulder my gun. I shit you not, this thing was probably 12 to 14 feet tall and 1,000 plus pounds. The biggest shoulders I've ever seen. This thing's arms were bigger than some trees. This thing was letting out these little huffs. It sounded like a frickin' gorilla. Another thing I won't forget was the smell. Man, it smelled like a really dirty mop that hasn't been cleaned. Both me and my brother are about 6'1" and 6'2", and this creature was easily double our height. All my life, I laughed at people who believed in this thing. That all changed in a matter of seconds. My brother and I haven't spoke about it ever since. Another one. Why? It drives me bonkers, that part. Frustrates me how so many people don't talk about it ever again. I refuse to go out back into the woods now. I just don't like the idea of a real-life forest giant prowling around our property. You can choose to believe me or not. I know what I saw, and nobody can take that away from me. But I really do appreciate you bringing this topic to light. People need to wake the hell up and realize these things are real and dangerous. Stay safe out there. Alex from Southern Illinois. Alex, man, I'm sorry you've been stripped of your ability to go out in the woods of confidence. That's the one part that really, really motivates me to do what I'm doing. Right? Well, actually, your email is just a classic example of why we're doing this. Right? Sure as hell is an entertainment, is it? Right? For you especially, right? This shit isn't entertaining. The emails are so repetitive. Shut the F up. Get out of here and leave. See, obviously I'm getting pissed off. It makes me angry. It makes me angry that so many people are stripped of their right to enjoy life to the fullest. We only get to be alive once. Well, who knows? But for here right now in this world, in the real world, which I am passionate about, the real world that's gave me life, and to hear of such a young, good men, again, being stripped, done, can't go in the woods anymore. They can't even talk to each other. because it has such a shitty impact on people who would not think for a second this shit's really going on, right? Piss off. Every single time I hear somebody say they can't go in the woods anymore, every single time it knee-jerks me wanting to go there and go in the woods with them until they're fine again. But how do you do it? Right? A lot of people. I mean, I know people that won't go in the woods just because they know there's a grizzly bear there. I don't go when there's grizzly bears. You know what I mean? Everybody's different, but for fellow outdoorsmen, fellow outdoors people, to have that stripped and stolen from them like that, bam, I don't go in the woods anymore. That's it, I'm done. Oh, and we don't talk about what happened either. And it's only because we don't know what's up. We're not pre-warned. There's no nothing available beforehand. It's kept intentionally away from us to know about. Why? Right? Back to the original question, why are we being lied to? I don't need evidence. I don't need a video. I don't need a frickin' photograph. All these clowns are spending years filling a YouTube channel with content and just talking about evidence. Here's some evidence. Here's some more evidence. What about this? What about that? Shut the F up and move on. The evidence has been in our face for a long time. Everybody move towards the what? Why are we being lied to? Why are we being lied to? Why are these innocent people like this young guy who just wrote in not having fair crack at the knowledge available and knowing beforehand so their mind can be somewhat prepared for a 1 in a million experience that may or may not happen? But at least you know. At least you know. And you know on average that you're going to live through it. Right? On average. I mean, how many thousands of people have you heard from here? Everybody's made it. Whether we hear from, obviously, right? Do I think that these beings are responsible for people going missing? No, I don't. No, I don't. That's another topic, though, right? Anyway, there you go. I did a bit of a ramble there. I just get freaking pissed off, man. When I hear of people, it's burned in my eyeballs, driving me bonkers. Very frustrating. Listen, I know my words don't mean shit to you. Appreciate you sending that email in. Big time. You're a brave man. And I'm absolutely sorry that you're not going in the woods anymore. And if I could be there and go in the woods with you and help you get over that shit, I would. I really sincerely would. And as far as your brother not want to talk about that shit again, send him this video. Make him watch the video. All right? Make him watch this video so he knows he's not alone. There is thousands of people who've had the exact same experience, seen the exact same thing. Okay, man? You're not going crazy. You're not alone. And it's okay to acknowledge what you saw. It's probably better. It's probably going to be a little more healthy for your mind to get it out. Just get it out and speak about it openly. Find your people. There's a whole bunch of us right here. All right? There's a whole shit pile of us right here. We got you back. It's okay. And you're okay. All right? You're not seeing shit. You're not going crazy. It's okay to talk about it. Work with your brother, man. Talk to your brother. Get through it. Don't put it away. Get through it. All right? Now, moving along. What do we got here? How long is this one? Not too long. Here we go. My tent story is the title of this email. Hi, Steve. I thought I'd finally share this story with you. You can share my first name if you'd like. It happened back around 2003, and I've never shared it with anyone before because I wasn't sure what it was. But after hearing about other people's stories, I'm now convinced it was a juvenile Sasquatch, or Bigfoot as some people call it. My ex-husband and I love camping. We even spent our honeymoon camping at our favorite campground in Quinte County in Ontario. I won't mention their name because I didn't get their permission to use it. It was a small campground that offered both tent and campers camping sites. Obviously, the trailers had seasoned amenities and rates. Had seasonal amenities and rates. We always booked in advance. And at our favorite site as it was close to Lake Ontario. Yes, the lake is big enough to offer clean beaches and swimming opportunities the further you go from Toronto. This site was just down the trail path from the permanent site of our Toronto neighbors who told us about this area. In fact, we could see the front door in the camper from our site if we turned to look at it as we tended to place our tent and the front entrance facing the lake. That was a long sentence. Which incidentally was around 30 feet away. However, this one weekend we weren't able to get the site we wanted, so we settled for the second favorite site we used when friends would join us. This weekend was shortly after they opened for the season and still relatively cold in May. We traveled everywhere with our two big dogs because we loved hiking and going for rides, exploring other places around here. You spelt Slam our shepherd, S-L-A-M. I'm betting you meant Sam our shepherd was wonderful to strangers as long as you didn't approach our house, or in this case, our tent. Maddie, my Rottweiler, was a sweetheart and loved everyone, and of course, very protective of us and our home/tent as well. We allowed our dogs in our tent because we didn't want them to get cold, but truth be told, we brought them in for warmth when it was cold and protection when it wasn't. LOL. This particular weekend, we headed up to see our neighbor John up the path some 60 feet away for a quick coffee to warm up after getting in rather late on the Friday evening and putting up the tent in the dark and to charge our phones. Plus our dogs loved John and his wife. Bam. We headed back to where we were talking about we headed back and we were talking about how glad we are that nobody comes camping here till June, at least. And we get this entire tent camping area to ourselves so we could let our dogs off leash for a bit. We got no punctuation. The dogs were running ahead, sniffing around. Oh man, sorry you guys. And waiting for us to get in the tent and cuddle up with us. We always bring our boots in because having experienced cold, wet boots before, we would wrap them in plastic bags and place them to the left of the zipper part and our flashlights just above our heads. We each had one. I'd always slept closer to the entrance so I could go out in the middle of the night for a pee. It's a girl thing. Maddie the Rottweiler slept at my head, and Slam, I guess his name is Slam, at my feet in front of me, being closer to the entrance than I and my husband behind me. We just settled in shortly after my husband was snoring, and I, of course, took longer to fall asleep because of this. I was laying there, and I hear something walking by the side of the tent toward the entrance. Sounded like a human footstep. The dogs did a soft growl and a whinny sound, like they knew who it was. I sat up and grabbed my flashlight to see who was at the entrance. The dogs backed off and growled as they stepped onto my husband, who sat up as well and asked me what was going on. And I said I didn't know. As he grabbed his flashlight and moved forward to the entrance, we noticed this huge mass was pressing and fumbling at the entrance. I decided to kick at it with both my feet. All we could see was what looked like a brown-colored mass, now in the light of our flashlights. It barely moved back as I swore, F, this is solid piece of shit. That's what it says, quote, F, this is solid piece of shit, end quote. My husband flew forward to unzip the flap, and as he did, our dogs whined and hid behind us. The flap was pushed back to reveal what looked like a gorilla face and head, crouched down, smiling, or what looked like a grin, with square chiclet-like teeth and close, set eyes with a brown fur face. I think it was a juvenile Bigfoot. My husband and I looked at each other and laughed out loud, thinking it was our friend John pulling a joke on us. My husband yelled out, "Very funny, John." And I turned to grab my boots the same time my husband did, I saw it jump so quick. It was a complete blur as it went to the left of the tent. We quickly put our boots on and jumped out along with our dogs, who started to bark and display teeth lunging ahead of us. We called them back, and we stood there realizing there was no way it was our friend, because he couldn't have moved that fast, let alone cover 60 feet back to his trailer. And besides which, I think he would have waited for us to get out and have a laugh. We stood there wondering, first of all, why our guard/protection breeds of dogs whined like they knew who or what it was. Or were they genuinely scared and we were too stupid to be? We could see nothing or nobody around, and we could see a light being turned on at John and Bam's trailer. We heard other dogs in the campground starting to bark, pretty much waking up other people in their trailers as well. We decided to walk over with our dogs on leash to see our friends and relay our story. They were totally shocked to hear it. John was still in his flannel jammies and had that just got up look in his face, so we knew there was no way it was him. We decided we'd stay up till the morning and have breakfast and maybe see if the few other campers had seen anything. Nobody did. So we just thought it was a prank pulled by another camper, seeing we were the only ones at the end of the park, being the tenters. Anyway, that's my story. Please share if you'd like. I do have 3 other stories that I can share in the future now that I believe Bigfoot exists in Ontario. You believe or you know, right? Crazy. Not the first time hearing somebody saying how it seemed to have, they smile or grin. My old girlfriend said that thing had a look on his face like it was just rocking it out, having a great time, entertaining itself as it was stooped over, and said his teeth were square, just like ours, but huge. Said that the face filled the window of the car, stooped over, loping along beside the car while they're in that snowstorm. But the look on his face, same deal. Looking like it was having a good time, entertaining itself. She said, quote, like it was just rocking it out, having a good time. Eyes close together. That's not common, I don't think, is it, right? Usually it's eyes wide apart and huge, right? It's rarely is it eyes close together. But anyway, there you go. And not the first person as well to kick out and kick one through a tent or punch it or slap through the tent, right? Everybody's worst nightmare. Anyway, on that note, I gotta go. My eye is annoying the shit out of me. And I got stuff to do, and I'm gonna have somebody come on here with me later on today. And we'll be posting that up tomorrow. I hope. Should be. This should go down this evening for sure. Yes, it will. I'm just saying, hopefully I will get it posted for tomorrow. But I'm definitely going to have somebody on here with me later on this evening. But right now, I got to go fire up my chainsaw and go hit the yard. And keep plugging away. Share my story at howtohunt.com. Get it off your chest. Speak openly about it. Quit being scared of people, all right? Quit being scared of ridicule. It's just one of our real shitty characteristics that have been thrown into our mix. Did we get taught to be scared of ridicule through the public school system? Maybe. I don't know what it is, man. What is it? What is it that made us all be conditioned, most of us be conditioned to be scared of ridicule from each other? Isn't that a waste of absolute time? Isn't that a weird one? It's a real unfortunate characteristic thrown into our mix. Or, as I go along my ride, was that characteristic groomed into us without us knowing, directly but indirectly, right? Because it's a real unfortunate one. So much evil and darkness and bullshit is cultivated only solely due to us being scared to speak to each other or out loud. Right? That fits. Think about that one. Think about what flourishes in our communities 100% due to the fact that so many of us are scared to speak openly in front of other people. Think about that one. Right? Alright, sharemystory.howtohunt.com. Just get it off your chest. And to the other previous email, your brother, make sure your brother sees this email. Sorry, this video, right? Just make him watch it. I'll be back later on.